Hey, what's up, everybody? Taking a look at the price of Bitcoin on the 3-day chart. I am looking at the RSI, and when you put your downward resistance line, you can see the RSI has technically broke above its downtrend. Now, a couple things I like, a couple things I don't like. One of the things I like is, it's a pretty nice line here, and we had a nice break. Um, The other thing I like is it's breaking from an oversold area, which is always nice. I'm sorry, overbought area. The problem is that I wish the RSI. I mean, this is the 3-day chart, so it takes time, right? But I would have liked to see this line come down a little bit further, play around in here, and then break out down here, right? But it broke out, in the middle, right? It broke out around the 50 line. So typically when that happens, you can make another high, right? And most likely, that's the case. But what ends up happening is, since this was so overbought, right? Usually you can't make another high. So you'll come up here, right? And then you're going to start creating bearish divergence. And then it'll come down, right? You'll come back up. And Bitcoin's going to be making new highs as this occurs. This is not financial advice. This is just speculation based off the RSI, right? But I'm just explaining, sometimes when you break out around the 50 line, right, you start to form bearish divergence. But, that might not play out for another several months, right? So when I put Bitcoin back on the screen, and just to show you an example here, so you could see the RSI breaking out right there, right? So we could actually make another high, right? Then the RSI pulls back, and then you actually make another high here. So the RSI is going down and the Bitcoin price is going up. And a lot of times that can form bearish divergence or some type of rising wedge where you come down. Now, that's just a wild, crazy idea, that is basically not even an idea. It's more of an example of what happens when the RSI breaks out a little bit early. So let's transform that to the daily chart and look at the RSI. So the RSI on the daily, it came down a lot better, right? It's you. So the thing with the RSI is, you want to find, right, where the price bottoms out. You want the RSI to bottom out, right? So and the same thing with topping out. You want it where it's topping out. So if you can have, for example, from the wave all the way from the top all the way to the bottom, is you want that oscillation from the top all the way to the bottom. So that way the price is actually lining up with the RSI, right? So for example, if I go to like the 6-hour chart, it's not going to look right. You can see right here, here's the top of the price, here's the top of the RSI. It's a little bit further over, but that's because we were creating that divergence that we were talking about back in March. But as this is going down, right, here's the bottom, you can see the RSI bottomed out here, right? And then it came back up, bottom, came back up, bottom, came back up, bottom. So that's kind of the trick, right, with the RSI is whatever time frame you're trading on. For example, if you're trading the 6-hour chart or the 4-hour chart, a lot of the sub waves are going to be oscillating, right, to the upside, to the downside. But what we're looking for is, we want to see the entire correction from one oscillation to the top to the bottom. So if we look at the daily chart, it's pretty nice. It's pretty, it actually lined up nicely, right? Versus if you look at something like the weekly chart, I mean, you can see, I mean, we're still overbought, right? We're barely coming down. So, you know, the price, this doesn't really affect the price at all, right? Because the price can still shoot way up to 100K and the RSI can come all the way up, right? And that's typically what happens. A lot of big holders aren't going to sell until they see divergence. We have no bearish divergence on the weekly chart, which is good, right? Which means we have a lot more room to gallop, as you would say. So if you come back up here, you know, get up to 100K, the RSI, you know, as long as it doesn't break this top, I mean, it's already pretty oversold or pretty overbought. So the chances of this being a fourth wave increase, and the chances of it being a fifth wave increase, which means we have one more wave to go, right? It'll be a spectacular wave, in my opinion. It'll be something like this, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's wave 3, right? So now you need another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that would be 5. So this would be 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, right? So this fifth wave would then create the bearish divergence, because that it's just the same thing as going down. You want to see bearish divergence between the third and the fifth, just like how you want to see bullish divergence between the third and the fifth. So that's kind of what I'm looking for, is on the macro thing. So again, looking at the weekly chart, we still have a beautiful weekly engulfing candle. It is still above these 3 candles here, 1, 2, 3. So I would love to see the price close on Sunday. Really, I would like to see it close above 64K. So anything above that is just a bonus. So yeah, that's kind of where we are on that. I just wanted to give a little sort of talk about the RSI to explain. So let me just go back real quick. The 3-day chart, you can see right here, right, from top to bottom, if this is the bottom, well, the RSI isn't saying it's the bottom. So what's telling the truth? Is it the daily chart, or is it the 3-day chart, right? Because if this comes down, right, if this is some type of bigger you know, this is an ABC, right? So if it's a bigger correction where we come back up and then we come back down, that's an ABC. It turns into a bigger ABC. So then the RSI would come up, right? And then come back down and then finish up. So now from the top here to the bottom of the wave, from the top of the RSI to the bottom of the RSI, that's one oscillation, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking for, to see how the RSI lines up with that oscillation. So let's see, let's check out the 2-day chart here. So here's a good example of what I'm trying to say. So here's the top of the wave right here, top of the RSI. Then you come all the way down, here's the bottom of that wave, and here's the top of the RSI, here's the bottom of the RSI. So this wave from top to bottom matched up with the RSI from top to bottom. So this is the correct time frame for this time period, right? Now things can change differently, but that's just, you know, how it is. So from the top of this wave going all the way up to the top of that wave, right? So that the true top was actually here, it was actually here. Right, and that's where we came out and said, hey, this is looking like an expanded flat, because you can see here's the top and here's the top of the RSI. Then you come down and then you come all the way back up. But look at the RSI, it did not do that, right? And then you can also see the price was chopping back above this high. That's how you know that this breakout was a fake out. And that this breakout at the time, you can go back and check out, you know, the videos I put out around January I would say mid-January, talking about the possibility of this being an expanded flat. So this expanded flat came down pretty hard, and you can see the RSI didn't quite reach down there. It actually got to the 50, but then that actually set off a new wave to the upside. So that's all it needed, right? So then you had this monster sized wave right here from top to bottom, but the RSI actually got back to overbought. So now we're back at the 50 again, which tells me that this correction is matching up with this correction. The issue that I have with that is basically we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So this is a fourth wave sub correction of this whole wave here. So this is one wave, and this is a fourth wave of this, a fourth sub wave of this whole wave, which means that would make sense that the RSI would match up on the 50 line. But if this is if this whole wave right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Now what do you need? You need an ABC. So if this is an A, something like how this came, A, B, C, right? Something like that. And then you put the RSI on, then you can kind of see it would come back up and then come down. Then it would reach to the bottom, right? So it's kind of a tough situation here to determine if this is the actual bottom. So for me, you don't have to know right now. That's the cool part about it. You don't have to know. All you have to do is wait. It'd be nice to know, and that's for the reason I'm making this video, right, and the ones previous is to kind of go down the thought process and the psychology of the different possibilities, right? I don't claim to know the exact answer of what it's going to be. I find it, entertaining to sort of entertain these possibilities for what's to come. But you don't have to know that decision right now. So what we do know is we came down in an ABC. We back tested the bull market support band, and now we're starting to climb, right? So this whole wave from here all the way to the bottom, that's one wave, right? So now we're on a totally separate wave. And this wave's job is to get through the retracement levels. And that is the hardest part, right? The hard part is not coming from here down to here. The hard part is once the correction is over, the wave that the new wave that starts, that job, right? It's the wave's job is to get through the retracement level. That's the hardest job, right? So we have once it's determined what happens in here is what determines if we break out or not, obviously. So like I said, the options is this is an ABC and this is a 1, 2, right? Maybe another 1, 2, and we're about to consolidate in here a little bit and then eventually break out. That's the point blank simple count, right, that everybody would like to see happen. The other idea, right, is to suggest that we have something a little bigger, right? Something more like this right here. So you can see right here, you see how that went down? A, B, and C. That was one wave. And that one wave was not enough to correct this 5-wave move. So my question is this same wave, this one wave, is that enough to correct this 5-wave move? That is yet to be seen. That is yet to be seen. But the fact that we are at all-time highs, the fact that we back tested the bull market support band, the fact when you look at the 3-month chart, remember that, right? When we did the video on the 3-month chart, we have a 3-month breakout, right? So if you put the resistance line right there, this was the all-time high of Bitcoin. We broke out of that with a vengeance, with a bullish engulfing quarterly candle, right? During that video, you can go back and look, I said typically what happens is the candle after the breakout candle usually likes to retest 50% of the breakout candle. So if you put a line, so if you take this whole candle from body to body and you cut it in half, right? I'm just going to eyeball it here. So about right there, right? You can see we almost got it, right? We almost got it, right? Somewhere, I would say that would be, this zone from here to here is that 50% zone. So, we essentially back tested it. And now we have 1 month, a month and a half left in this candle. And I really like the look of the candle. The red candle is actually more bullish than the green candle. And you could say, how is that even possible? Well, because the green candle's job, right? Every candle has a job. The green candle's job was to engulf the breakout. The red candle's job is harder. Why? Because his job is to come all the way back down and back test the top of these bodies. So if you can successfully do that, and you can see right here, let me actually make it right on the dot. So I'm going to zoom all the way out a little bit, expand it. I'm going to put it right on the top of the body. So that's about 58,800. So 58,800. I'll reset the price, and you can see right here, let me get my arrow. You can see this candle's job came all the way down, and it wicked all the way down, and it back tested the top, which was what? Which is basically, kind of like an assist, right? Like in basketball, you give an assist, right? So he's assisting this bullish engulfing candle. This bullish engulfing candle did a job, right? And he had a pretty difficult job. So in order for his job to be successful, his brother needs to actually finish the job. And basically how he does that is he comes down and he back tests to confirm the breakout, because this whole thing is a breakout. This candle's job is to back test. So we got it, right? So that's the most important part. So now we have a month and a half left. If we can close exactly where we are now, between at least 61K, right? So 61K would be here. I would really like to see 63 plus K on the close. So, and that would be a successful breakout, right? So we broke out, back tested, now let's go. So again, going back, let's go back to the daily, and you could see where that line is. You can see where that line is. So you can see right here, the price dipped its toe. It went below the line, right? It went below the line. Why? Because there's a lot of liquidity under that line. And what happened was we shot back up. We found some resistance. We pulled back. We bull flagged, and now we're continuing to climb. So, it's looking much better, right? When you're at the top of the range, it's very bullish. When you're at the bottom of the range, it's very bearish and scary, right? It's like, man, we're at the bottom. It's not looking good. We might crash to the downside. The top of the range, everybody gets bullish. Everybody's buying more. So, that's what usually happens. People buy the tops and they sell the bottoms. And it's up for debate, who wins that war. So, but yeah, I'm looking for, the big question is, are we going to get something like this, which is a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways breakout. Rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways breakout. That would actually be healthy. That would actually be healthy, and it would actually kill some time. Which basically means, right, this wave, again, this wave's job was to get back down to the bull market support band. This wave's job is to get us out of here, get us through the retracement level. If it fails to do that, then what's going to happen is we're going to get stalled out in here, and then it has one more chance to succeed, right? So, it'll allow itself to cool off and go sideways and basically rest, right? Because his job is to like run a marathon. And if he can't succeed and he gets tired, then he has a chance to take a rest and he can lay down for a little bit, right? Go sideways. And then he has another chance to go. Okay, now he's going on his marathon. He's rested up. He has plenty of strength. Now here's your chance to get through. And if he gets through, boom, that's what you want. And I believe that will happen. If he gets up here and he can't do it, if he can't get through, then we're coming back down. And then this whole thing would be an A. This will be a three-wave move B, and then we come down for C. Now, the way I drew it, it looks a little big. I don't think it's going to be that big, but I'm just trying to give a visual representation of what it could look like. So A, B, C, and then boom, let's go. So either way you slice it or dice it, I'm very bullish. Anything above, really anything above 50K, 47K is actually bullish. As long as Bitcoin stays above 47K, we are still extremely bullish on the macro time frame. So yeah, that's kind of where we are. We're inching our way into the retracement levels. Let's see how that develops. Okay, so zooming in a little bit, we can see Bitcoin is getting a pullback. Let's see how this plays out. Let me actually go to the 4-hour chart. Okay, so here's the 4-hour chart. And essentially, we broke out of this range in here, right here. So one of the things I said yesterday is, we could potentially, come back down and back test the top of that range. And that's what we're doing now. We're back testing the top of it, which is a good sign. So if we can hold above this range, and that's what we really want to see. We don't want to break below, because then it would be a false breakout. We broke out of this for a reason. Either the reason is because it was a legitimate breakout, or because the market makers want liquidity. So they break above people's stop loss, they grab the liquidity, then they take it back down. So, we have the opportunity for this to be a successful back test. Breaking out, like I said, breaking out is much easier to do than actually back testing and confirming the breakout. So let's look closer at the 1-hour chart. So, the wave looks kind of, I don't want to say like trashy, but it kind of does look a little trashy. And there's actually two areas here as well. We have this area back down here for the price to also back test, right? So we're kind of in the middle of these two ranges, so I can just extend it there. So I'm looking at what is that, 63K? Yes, a little more than 63K. So right now, you can count it a couple different ways. It's like I said, it's a little trashy, but it kind of looks like a 1 2 1 2 3 4, and then with an extended fifth. You can argue that this is 1 2 3 4 5. I don't like the way it's shaped, because the way it's shaped looks three-wave-ish, right? This was only 3. I think this was only 3. and this wave up was only 3. So to me, it's 1, 2, 3, right? So what we need is this to be a 4th wave and for us to get a 5th wave. If this pulls back, which is doing now, and we can get a 5th wave, that's gonna solidify the breakout, right? So we really want this to turn into, because as of right now, it's only a correction, right? This could be, this could turn into a flat pattern, right? Where you have A, you come up B, you break the top, and then you come all the way back down. So it could be, some type of expanded flat before you go back up, right? It could be a part of a bigger 3-way move. That's why you want 5 waves. Because if it's only 3 waves, then if you break this high with only 3 waves, then that's a B wave trap. Remember I said B waves are the ultimate traps, right? So we don't want this to turn into a trap. We want this to turn into a 4th wave and for us to eventually get a 5th wave. So if we get a 5th wave, let me zoom out a little bit here. Take that off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then let's get up here for wave 5. If we get wave 5, then we have the opportunity, we have the chance to then challenge the Fibonacci retracement level. You see, corrections are no fun, right? They're grueling, they're long, they're boring, but during a correction, that's the best time to learn, and that's the best time to sort of understand how really price moves and how price reacts, because 90%, or I would say 90+% of the time, assets are correcting. Like, that's what they do. Most of the time they're correcting. You have these big impulses, they don't last long, and then after that they mostly just correct. So most of Bitcoin's life has been correcting. So as you're in a correction, you want to figure out how those corrections work. So if we get 5 waves, then that really makes this whole thing, right, gets to challenge this, but then it also turns this 1, 2, 3. It turns that back. It now turns that into 3 waves, right, which is a bigger ABC. So then what you want is for this to get a little bit more extended, a 3-way pullback, and for that to be a final wave, right? So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that 5th wave breaks the top, and then it sets off a new impulse to the upside. So that's why one little wave can make the difference of a lifetime, right? One direction, right? If this turns into 3, it can set the course of Bitcoin's history by years. It can, or not years, but it can change things in a as far as time is concerned. So the price of Bitcoin, it does correct through percentages and through price, but most of it is just killing time to allow the psychology, right, to allow the the human psyche to know that this is the normal, right? A $70,000 Bitcoin is normal, but 5 years ago it was taboo, right? So the longer it trades in this area, the more normal it gets. So that's why time is actually a good thing, but at the same time it's a grueling thing. So that's kind of where we are with Bitcoin on the small time frame. Let me take that off and just look at it one more time, a little bit closer here. You can actually see, let's go to the 15-minute. You can actually see a potential flat here. So on the 15-minute, we had a nice impulse, right? We know that. 1, 2. So 1, 2. and then I would say all of this is 3, and it looks like a running flat here, right? So you had A, B, C for a wave 4, and then you came up for wave 5. So that's a nice 5-wave move on the 15-minute chart. The breakout area was right about there. And now we have, it appears we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, it looks like 3, 4, and maybe 5, or it could be finished now, which basically is an A, B, C, which basically is as a flat. So we have an A, it came up, it broke the top, grabbed the liquidity, and brought it down. So we have a nice 3-wave shape. We have a really, really nice, ABC here. So the question is it finished? Right? It could be finished, right? So let's do this. I'll take a trend-based fib extension. I'll put it right here, and I'll go to the bottom of the A wave, and then I'll drag it all the way up to the top of the B wave. And we actually exceeded the 1618. I think we overshot it a little bit, and then we quickly recovered, and now look at that. We are holding the 1618 as support. That is the power of Fibonacci right there. So we came all the way down, we're back testing the 1618. Right? We don't want to close below that line. We want to hold it and then continue higher, right? Because anything deeper than that, you run the risk of it being an actual reversal instead of being a bullish correction. So if I take, another way you can measure it is take it from the bottom of the wave all the way to the top of the wave. Now, that Fibonacci was a trend-based Fibonacci, which is basically, understanding the trend. This Fibonacci is just regular Fibonacci. We can also come down, right, back down to the 618. So basically back testing this area right here. So I can get rid of that. So as long as we stay above that, technically, we're still bullish. It could turn into a more complex correction, 1, 2, 3, right? And then we can come up 1, 2, 3, and then come back down in 5 or 3, right? A, B, C, back test here, and then go up. So we have to wait and see how that's going to play out. But I really like what I'm seeing here. If I just drag this along, as long as we hold that yellow zone, we're bullish, because, here was resistance, right? You get into the resistance, boom, we finally break it. So it would be actually nice to actually back test it, and then we can confirm it, and then continue moving our way up. And here's what I'll say about that. If we get down to that yellow zone, it would actually be incredibly bullish. Why? Well, in my opinion, right, it would qualify potentially as a 1, 2, 1, 2. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2, right? Holding the trend here, which would set us up for a big wave 3. I would imagine. Right? Remember, this is the 15-minute chart, so a big wave 3 might not be big on the weekly or the daily, right? So understand that. But any way you look at it, to me, it appears that this is, really has the impression of some type of, inverse head and shoulders pattern here. So we have that look. So let me match it up here with the trend line. And as I'm recording videos, my trend, sometimes I'm in a hurry, my trend lines aren't exactly perfect, pinpoint nailed, and that's not really the idea. The idea is just to give you, to emphasize, or for us to visualize what it is. not necessarily to be exactly to the T, right? I mean, that's, if you're doing precision trading, then yeah, you're going to want exact numbers. But this is more, I try to get it as straight as I can. But for time purposes, I just, draw it there so that we understand it's there. But yeah, we could come down as well and back test the top of this resistance line. So we have resistance, right? Resistance, resistance, resistance. We come up, we back test it as the support, and we continue higher. So I would love to see the price stay above this downward resistance line. I will point out we are almost to the 618, right? We haven't quite reached it yet. So, I was kind of hoping we would actually hit it before we got rejected. But now we're sort of like in that golden zone, right? The golden zone is between the 618 and the 50. So I'll just put it right there. And then I'll drag it down right there. So this zone is actually the most important part of the chart, right? It's basically that golden ratio. So anything below it, we're bearish. Anything above it, we're bullish, and anything in it is considered neutral. So actually, right now, if I zoom in here, we're actually pretty neutral. I mean, we're at the bottom of it, but it looks like we want to come back up. So as long as we stay in it and above it, we're actually doing better. So yeah, that would be, I would say, the number one job for Bitcoin is right now, and in the not too distant future, is to get back above this line right there. So around above 67K. So if we can get above 67K, really 67, again, let me try to make it on the dot here. 67,300, I say we are pretty good. So what's interesting though is we saw Bitcoin dump, but we saw Theta and XRP actually not. So look at total 3, right? You can see the dump, right? Okay, now look at Bitcoin. You can see the red dump. Okay, now look at Theta. Where's Theta at? Right there. You actually see that sucker still pumping, right? So that's interesting, is it not? Right? That could be telling the story. Like Theta had a dump and now it's continuing to pump. That is actually a really good sign, right? And look what stopped it. It was this bullish hammer candle, and that's the same candle, right? This candle right here is the same candle, I might add you, on the Bitcoin weekly chart that back tested the bull market support band. So just to show you how powerful that type of candle is. So yeah, Theta is still pumping, right? While total 3, the altcoin market as a whole, is dumping. So look at Bitcoin again, right? We're dumping. Now look at, let's see, XRP. So XRP is actually staying neutral. It actually didn't dump at all. I mean, it's having a little correction, but it didn't really do what total 3 and Bitcoin did, right? So it actually kind of looks like, I mean, it kind of looked like a flat here, A, B, C, right? And then we have a 1, 2. So maybe this thing can continue higher, or this is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, right? Maybe something a little bigger before we continue higher. Just gonna have to wait and see. It's in a correction right now. It's no point in guessing exactly. I can give the possibilities. I can give the different things that could occur, and basically so far I see just 2 options right now. But I will say this about XRP is, as long as we can stay above this line here, this zone, I say we're looking pretty good, right? Because you can see we hashed out a bottom here, this sort of inverse right here. We actually broke out, and we're, let's see, did we back test anything here? Yeah, we barely back tested this wick right here, so that was good. As soon as we hit it, we got bought back up. So to me, I'm hoping this is a 4th wave. So it looks like a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. This is wave 4, and now let's get wave 5. So I'm expecting, or I'm hoping that it breaks to the upside. Because so far it's only an ABC, right? We have A, B, C. We have a 3-wave move following a 5-wave move. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a move to the downside with a 3-wave pullback, which basically means you got more downside. So that's why it's important that this turns into 5, not 3, right? So it's kind of like a do or die situation here. But looking at theta, let's go back to theta here, or real quick on the total 3, you can see it's still sort of lackluster in its results. I would have loved to see, right, here's our resistance line here. I would have loved to see the price at least touch it, right? Because when we put Bitcoin on, and I'm gonna slide the total 3 up, you can see Bitcoin right here. Here's the Bitcoin price, right? We broke out. We actually broke above this resistance line, but total 3 didn't even get near it, right? So let me put it right there. So total 3, let me get rid of that now. It didn't get to touch it. So, I mean, maybe it's still waiting for Bitcoin, to prove itself. I'm not sure. Maybe it's still in a correction. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's, we have A, B, C, right? And now this is a 1 and a 2. So if this is it's a pretty big wave, right? So if it's a 1, 2, then looking for a big wave 3 to come out of that. But yeah, let's talk about theta now. Theta looks nice. We are at a dangerous area though, because if I draw the downward resistance line, it's subjective on how you can draw it, right? If I draw it like this, it's actually having more touches. We did have a fake out right here, right? So we have much more touch points, and it seems like that line is more respected, right? If I put it right here now, if I put it all the way up, we are still getting these 2 points, but we missed in here. But we did get this one. So I like to be a little more conservative with my lines. So I'm going to put it there. So technically we haven't broken it yet, broken it with a vengeance. So it still has that, descending triangle look to it. So again, the bullish case is A, B, C, D, E. We pull back and then we can break out. Challenge the retracement levels and then continue higher. The other option is it could be still a triangle, but it starts here A, B, C, D, E, and this is the final E before the dump, right? And that dump will actually allow us on the bigger time frames to back test somewhere in this area. Actually, let me do it like this. I'll put the retracement from here, and I'm going to go up to here. That's why I don't really like it a lot, because we already hit a 618 retrace. We already tagged the 702. Anything deeper than that, we're playing with the 786. So that's why it's important for theta to stay above $1.50, $1.40. But if this is a triangle, fourth waves occur in triangles, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you have a nice bull flag down in here, right? And a breakout. So when you zoom out, it actually doesn't look too bad. It actually looks quite nice, because you have this big 1, 2, 1, 2. right? It would set up a nice bullish momentum trade. So we actually have some mega hidden bullish divergence here, right? You can see the line. We're down here, we're going up, right? And then you can see the RSI is going down. So this is hidden bullish divergence, and it's pretty strong. It's very strong, actually. It's even on the 2-day chart. You can see right here, right? So if the RSI is equal or lower than compared to where the price was on point A versus point B, you can see a massive pump, right? And the RSI is actually weaker than when it was back over here. But you could see the price is higher, right? So that's a kind of a good indicator that, you know, it could set us up for a nice trade. Now, when I look at the 2-day chart, it, you know, when I zoom out, it's actually more bullish than when I zoom in, really. And I really like this trend line here. I mean, I just can't explain it. I don't know. It just looks nice. Like we had a beautiful 55% correction, big correction, hit the 618,702. We bounce off the bull market support band, bounce off the bull market support band, bounce off the bull market support band. The thing that I don't really like about it is the bounces are getting weaker. You could see the first bounce, it was pretty strong. We came back down, we tested the bull market support band, we bounced again. But this bounce was a little bit weaker. This bounce is also getting is also a little bit weaker, right? So the bounces are getting weaker, which is it's imperative that we break above $2.25 and stay above it, right? And then another thing I'm looking for, let me put this downward resistance line here, is a break of this, and we are literally right there. I mean, this could be the moment for Theta, right? We have 3 unbelievable tests of the bull market support band, right? I mean, think about how much we were talking about it over here. And then when we had this incredible move, right, it was a really fun time. And then we had this correction, and you know, ever since then I've been saying we're most likely coming back down here. And we did 3 times. So, you know, we had, if you've been following my channel, you've had 3 opportunities, not financial advice, but the dollar cost average alongside the bull market support band. That doesn't even mean it will still hold. We could still come down, right? It's all about how Bitcoin wants to show up for the party. But to me, it looks like it wants to break out. You know, the bull market support band still rising. We still have an upwards demand line here. So, you know, it's looking pretty good. And we do have a bullish hammer candle somewhat, and it's also engulfing this candle here. And we have a second candle equal to the size of this one, which tells me, you know, this candle won't end for another day. But if we can have the following candle break us out, I think it's going to look really nice. Let's see the daily chart. You know, the daily chart's a little different. I have to readjust the trend line. Let's look at the 3-day chart. The 3-day chart is really nice as well, right? I don't care about the wicks. You can go through the wicks. The bodies are as long as you don't go through the bodies, it's important, right? The only exception that I go through the bodies of the candles is if there's more touch points that line up with the rest of the wave, and if that body is a fake out. So the 3-day candle, we have a bullish engulfing candle. I like it a lot. So it's, you know, we just have to wait and see. I mean, this is the moment of truth right now. I just don't really like the shape of it too much because it looks like a descending triangle, and descending triangles are bearish looks, but I really do like the way it's shaped from a flag perspective, right? So if I put that down like that, and then I bring it in a little bit closer, let me get rid of that. You can see it actually looks pretty good. So yeah, it looks nice. Meanwhile, over on the DXY, we can see it back testing the bull market support band. So we're at a very big crossroad section here when it comes to the bull market support band. We really want to see, right, if the DXY is going to bounce, it should bounce now. So, which would send crypto falling. But you can see just how incredible, this line is right in here. You can see, the bottom of these blocks, the top of this, right, the top of this, and now the bottom of this. So this line's been important. So I would say if the DXY is above the line, crypto is bearish. If we're below this line, crypto is bullish. So we're right in the middle of it. We need to come down. I like the way it looks. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a 3-way pullback, and now we have a 1. Maybe we get a 2, 3, 4, and another 5. So I kind of think crypto needs a little bit of a correction. When I look at THETA versus Bitcoin, we have a bullish engulfing 3-day candle. Let's zoom in here. It's still very corrective, right? It needs to prove itself. 1, 2, right? If this wants to turn into a third wave, I really want to see it get up here, 4 and 5. So it still has a lot of work to do in order for me to get excited about that. I like Theta Fuel in the last, over the last day, we had this nice pump up, right? And it got pretty high. I mean, that was a pretty substantial wave here. So for Theta Fuel, let me zoom out. Looks like a lead-in for a bullish move. Typically, ascending channels usually break to the downside, but in this case, if it's a running flat and it matches up with a lot of the Bitcoin fractals I've shared, it actually has a potential of being very bullish. A, B, C, 1, A, B, C, 2, and now this is a 1, and now we're getting a 2, and maybe we get that third wave coming up, 4, 5, and that would solidify this channel. So if we get a 3-way pullback in here, I think that could potentially be our last opportunity to buy Theta Fuel for cheap. Remember, not financial advice. I could be totally wrong. Always know that. But from, the fractals I've seen. So here's one right here, right, where this is Bitcoin. It came down. And it's the same thing with what Theta Fuel did. We back tested the bull market support band. We came up, and look at this right here. Zoom in on this right here. It's the same type of thing. So we had, this A. We came up for B and a C, a flat. And then we came down 1, and then we had an A, B, C, 2, right? So this is a 1, 2, and then we had and then this is a 1, 2 of the third wave. So we had 1, and this big red candle is number 2. So maybe this big red candle is where Theta Fuel is now. And then what did it do? It blasted into the third wave. So the whole thing was A, B, C running flat, with a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we went up for 5. Here's another example back in 2019 of Bitcoin, right? Same kind of thing right here, right? Where I remember this pretty well. And here we came up, right? A, B, C, running flat, and then we had a 1, 2, right? And then 1, 2, we had an A, B, C. So this was 1, and then this is 2, A, B, C, right? And then we started the third wave, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, right? So that's kind of what I would like to see with the price of theta, theta fuel, I mean. So I would imagine, based off those two fractals and based off other things I've seen, I would think that theta fuel is somewhere somewhere right in here. So it needs a little bit down and then come back up. So we'll see. So, I mean, that should be about it here. Just real quick on a meme coin, looking at Pepe. I don't care about Pepe. I don't hold Pepe. I'm just showing you because the meme coins were pretty much the dominant thing over the last couple, I would say 3 to 4 months. This kind of looks, it's either very bullish or very bearish. And I know that's not the answer we want, but just hear me out. Look at this. Either this is an ABC, and we have a 1 2 1 2 1 2, and we're about to fly. I mean fly to the moon. Or this is a flat. So here's the top. You can see right here we broke the top, but look what's happening as we broke the top. We're not having any follow through. So we have ABC, right? And then we have another ABC. And then we can come all the way back down to another ABC. And that could turn into a running flat or an expanded flat. But I would have liked to see it a running flat because it would meet up with the bull market support band. So that, my friends, this whole thing would be A, B, C, moonshot. And both counts are actually very bullish. The difference is the time it takes to get to that bullish move, right? So those are the two ideas that I have for Pepe right now. So by the look of it, you know, I wouldn't want to short it right now. I mean, it's kind of a tough situation. But yeah, I like that this bullish or this bearish doji candle here. It kind of looks like it wanted to reverse the price. And we're basically on a 9, right, on the sequential. So I wouldn't be surprised we pull back here soon. Now looking at SHIB, a little bit different here, right? We have a pretty nice trend line here, and we broke that trend line, and now we're back testing that trend line. And then we also have, you know, this shoulder, this head, and this shoulder, right? So if I were to guess the measured move, it would get us back relatively to about that 786, maybe around that area, with just eyeballing it. So it's nice to see we broke the trend line, and it's nice to see we're back testing it now. So it actually looks quite nice. So, and then we also have, right, we had a 1 2 3 and then a 1 2, maybe this is 1 2, maybe we're in the middle of the third, 4 5, right? But we'll have to wait and see. We just broke it, so let's see if we can hold it. So I really want to talk about H bar. I want to talk about Matic, and I want to talk about, I think, ADA, and I'm going to do that on the next video. But people have been asking for T drop, so I will touch on that as well. So far with T drop, I mean, I would have liked to see us hold the bull market support band. There's a lot of wicks on T drop, so it makes it a little difficult to count. But I would imagine that this is some type of ABC here, and now we're starting to form a base around the bull market support band. So as long as we hold above this low here, right, so somewhere in this zone, as long as we hold above that zone, I still say we're very bullish. I mean, it looks like we have 1 2 3 4 5 and then 6 7. So to me, it seems like that would be sufficient enough as a correction. I mean, it looks very corrective, right? They're all overlapping each other, so it seems like it's a bullish correction. So it's all about finding a base in here and eventually breaking out. And I think it has a good shot at doing that. as long as the rest of the market agrees. Alright guys, that'll do it for this video. Please like the video, leave a comment. If you want to support the channel, you can always do so. I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.